Hi everyone, Chillax here and welcome back to another Anchor Panic video. So as you can see before you, for version 1.6, in addition to the new operator Thunderrock, who is our latest and greatest lightning defender, we do have the first banner of Lang Jiao, who has been an existing hero since version 1.0, as well as Tiya, and this is actually her first rerun. And a lot of players on the Anchor Panic Discord are asking, should I pull for Thunderrock or should I pull for Tiya? And I think a lot of people are asking this question because most players have exhausted their summons and Crystal Ashes on Abyss Elysia, who was the raid up hero from previous version 1.5, but who was our first limited hero at the same time, so that's understandable. And basically the purpose of today's video is first to discuss her overall value in the current version 1.6 meta. That way you get an idea of her value in relation to other operators. And then second, we'll time travel into the future to talk about the future quantum operators who may potentially power creep Tiya. And then the third thing I want to talk about is going over her kit. That way you understand the value she brings to the table. Then we'll go over her build, how to build her if you decide to summon her. And then fifth we'll showcase some replays of myself running Tiya as my star player in normal arena against other whales at the top arena. So anyways, without further ado, let's begin. So I want to start things off with one visual, which I think will really, put everything into perspective. So this is an updated tier list infographic that I created about maybe 30 minutes ago. That includes Thunderrock on the top right, along with some modifications to the operators in the sustain category based on player feedback, you guys. One thing I want to point out is that Tiya, as of version 1.6, is still one of the 3 premium DPSs at A0, so just one copy of her with her signature Sigil equipped. That's how to interpret this. So Tiya, as you can see before you, is one of our top 3 DPSs that serves as the core of any team. And the reason why Tiya is so good, just as a quick summary, is because she hits very hard. She has a high damage multiplier, but she also does a ton of cumulative damage that is very surgical. And what I mean by that is that she has the ability to create a dark void, and it's obvious because you basically send everyone to the shadow realm, if you will, and anytime the enemy acts, you have a probability chance of retaliating with a follow-up attack on the weakest enemy, which is defined as the enemy with the lowest HP bar. And this is significant because you can actually pick off say like a weakened DPS who tends to be one of the squishier units before they can act. I've done that a lot in PvP, and Tiya, to my knowledge, is the only hero as of this recording who has the ability to snipe off a weakened enemy, which can be quite valuable because for the fire element in particular, I think one of their biggest weaknesses is that they do a lot of AoE damage, but those enemies tend to all stick around, and there's not really currently any fire operator who can, take things over the top and really pick up KOs, right? Because there's no point in doing a ton of damage if all the enemies are still alive, right? That's kind of the problem with the fire element right now. And I think in a lot of really tight matches, a lot of games are decided by whether or not a key DPS has been taken off the map. So Tiya is very good at really focusing on enemy DPSs who tend to be the ones who first dip in the red with their HP bar. And there's no one really competing for Tiya's role for version 1.6. The other 2 damage dealing quantum units are breakers, who also do a lot of damage, but not as much as Tiya, and they're really meant to complement Tiya, boosting her damage output, namely Newcastle in the S tier on the DPS, and then also Ifrit on the support role in the A tier. So I think if you are concerned about the near term, like let's say you're really struggling in normal arena or advanced arena and you really need a reliable DPS who is somewhat splashable, I think Tiya is a very solid addition to your account. Now, when you look towards the future at what the CN server currently has, and mind you, CN server is about, I would say about a year and a half ahead of us right now in terms of banners, then I think that there is a little bit reason to be concerned, because Zephryrine, according to my translations, is a limited hero who is a breaker, but happens to be a DPS who can buff herself and become stronger over time. So if there's any operator who threatens Tiya, it's going to be Zephryrine. But do note that her release banner was July 21st of 2025, which is this year. And to put things in perspective, CN server has been around since September of 2023. And we're currently approaching almost exactly the 3-month mark of global. So it's entirely possible we won't get Zephryrine until a year from now, even with the accelerated release table that we're currently on. And the reason I say this with a degree of confidence is because limited operators tend to follow with the storyline, and currently the CN server is on storyline chapter 14. We're currently on 9. So because Zephryrine is likely tied to chapter 13, so even if Zephryrine does power creep Tiya, it's not going to happen for at least half a year. I'm almost certain of it. So if not like 9 months from now, or for the next 9 months. So I think we're fairly safe. And actually, just briefly going over why she is so, why she might threaten Tiya's role. And by the way, this is the really spicy, uncensored skin of Zephryrine. It took me a while to find the uncensored version, but I did find it. Basically, the reason why Zephryrine is so good and could potentially replace Tiya is because starting off with her first talent, at the start of each round, she has the ability to buff herself with one of 3 random blessings that last for a round. So the first blessing, Blessing of Valor, she can increase her attack by 12%. And then the second blessing is Blessing of Wisdom, where she can boost her speed. And then the third blessing is that she has the ability, all types of damage received by allies during the action process are reduced by 40%. So she can either enhance her stats, or she can protect her allies better. But this is not something you can decide, it's random, but you're guaranteed to get one of these blessings to last for a turn, or you're guaranteed to get a blessing every turn, at the start of every turn. That's what I'm trying to say. And then her second passive significantly improves her survivability. So kind of like with Abyss Elysia, she can be a DPS breaker tank. When Zephyrine's health dips below 75% for the first time, she gains 1 layer of golden feather protection, which provides a lot of buffs. It gives her a shield equal to 160% of her own attack, and while the shield exists, her damage reduction increases by 30%, with the maximum of 1 layer of damage reduction. And this lasts for 2 turns. And when her health drops below 25% of the first time, she immediately gains 1 layer of golden feather protection. Now there's a translation error. So there's maximum 1 layer of damage reduction, but you can get maximum 2 layers of the golden feather. Yeah, so I think what it's trying to say is that you can stack the shields that she gets. Well, actually, no, actually, I don't know. Anyways, translation issue. And then her skill gives her the ability to, it's an AoE skill that each hit adds 1 layer of radiation. And radiation, if I recall correctly, does percentage-based quantum damage to the enemies. And then her energy burst is quite powerful. So she absorbs the power of the blessings and enters the star-calling spirit form, with greatly enhanced ability. So 40% attack increase. This is 40% attack increase, 12% speed increase, 25% damage reduction increase, 100% energy efficiency increase. So she'll be basically bursting every turn, from my knowledge. Immune to control, and cannot be interrupted in combat. Infinite duration. Will not exit this form upon death. If already in Star Calling Spirit form, so let's say you burst the following round and you already have this form, the energy burst evolves. She deals 120% of her own attack and plus 125 damage to all enemies. First hit adds a golden chain to the primary target. The target's next 3 skill damage will not be absorbed by shields or barriers, and the sharing effect cannot be triggered. I don't really know what that means. This is a lot here. The target's nice. Okay. And the golden chain cannot be dispelled. When the energy burst evolution skill is released, it will exit the Star Calling Holy Spirit form. Anyways, she sounds pretty broken, right? Even if we don't fully understand this translation. So yeah, I digressed there. So going back to Tiya, let's talk about her skills. So when we go, and this is her skin, by the way, it looks really spicy. And this is the only skin that Tiya has as of, if we were to glimpse ahead at all the future skins of CN server, this is the only skin, so it's safe to get if you just do decide to get her. Okay, so I'm going to briefly go over this. So basically her skill 1, whenever she releases a skill, she generates stellar power, and up to 3 stacks. Full stack releases stars, performing a fatal strike on the enemy with the lowest HP, and each star deals quantum damage equal to 37.5% of Tiya's attack and additional true damage equal to 7.5% of the target's lost HP. What this translates to is this is essentially the follow-up attack, the stellar power, and the weaker the enemy is, the harder this follow-up attack does. And then for her second talent, at the start of battle, she has a 90% chance to gain 50% energy recharge, and for each allied quantum operator on the field, she increases her own crit rate by 2.5%. I like this passive a lot because it does 2 things. It allows her the chance to energy burst earlier, and then like on round 1. And second of all, it incentivizes you to put her on a full quantum team with the potential to increase her crit rate by up to 10% additional crit rate. And crit rate does a lot in this game. The multipliers are insane. So skill is, a decent damaging attack, and then her energy burst, she enters a stargaze state. It's a field effect. This was the dark void I was talking about. The field effect of Tiya after energy burst release attaches stellar mark to enemies. Yeah, so applies 1 stack of stellar mark to all enemies, and enemies with stellar mark targets will suffer starfall strike equal to 2.5% of Tiya's attack after taking action. Yes, so this was the follow-up that I was talking about. So remember what I mentioned before, performing a fatal strike on the enemy of the lowest HP. So this is one form of follow-up attack. And then the other form of follow-up attack, is the Dark Void. And this is whenever that enemy acts, they have the potential to get hit. after their action. So it's just a way to really ramp up damage, and this is why you build her very fast, which is even indicated by her signature sigil. Now, I do have to say that unlike Thunderrock, who can function perfectly fine without her signature sigil, in the case of Tiya, you really do want her signature sigil, because this is one of 2 sigils in the game, first of all, that provides speed bonus as a 3rd stat. The only other sigil who can actually do this, to my knowledge, is Turn's sigil. The second thing I want to direct your attention to is that for each attack dealt, gains 25 defense penetration for 2 turns up to 10 stacks. This is something that Tiya can take full advantage of, because she does a lot of attacks each round. Like, she can attack anywhere between, it's very possible for her to attack 4 or more times in a turn. Yeah, very easy to do. And each subsequent follow-up attack she does will have an enhanced defense penetration. When equipped by Tiya, defense ignore increases by 10%, and each stack provides an additional 1.5% of attack bonus. So if you think about it, Tiya's value lies in the fact that she can ignore defense, right? Which means that she has added value against enemies, against endgame content, right? Because the tougher the enemies are, the more well built they are, the chunkier they are, the more valuable Tiya is, because Tiya can essentially ignore a lot of the defensive investment of the enemies thanks to her sigil. So yeah, her sigil is very important. So now that we've gone over her skills, let's go over how to build her real quick. And actually, before that, let me briefly touch on her ascensions. So Tiya is one of those heroes who really gets a lot of benefit from her ascensions, and the reason is because at Ascension 3, crit damage permanently increases by 4%, and each starfall strike has a 50% chance to produce an extra stellar power. So this is a way to really ramp up her damage output, and at A6, crit damage by 10%, but the chance of each star strike providing 80% of, for stellar power. So stellar strike, stellar power is like, goes over your head, right? So stellar strike is this one, stellar power is this one. Okay, so this is the one that allows you to perform a fatal strike on the enemy of the lowest HP. That's stellar power. So going back to this, yeah, so every time you do a stellar strike, which I presume is the follow-up attack from her Dark Void, whenever she does a follow-up from the Starfall strike, she has a 50% chance at A3 to get that valuable stellar power, which allows you to focus on the weakest enemy. And at A6, you have an 80% chance to do this. So what I'm trying to say is, essentially the value of the Ascension lies in your ability to snipe off the weakest enemy. The more Ascension you have, so A0 versus A3 versus A6, the more Ascension that you get with Tiya, the easier it is, and the more frequently you will take, threaten the weakest enemy. That's the value of her Ascension, if you ignore the additional stats, okay? So hopefully that guides you there. Now, in terms of builds, for her sigils, she is one of those units who really wants speed. You don't need to make her super fast, because you still want your buffers like Turn or Echo to still provide an offensive buff to your Tiya before she acts. However, you do want her fast enough to act before the enemies move. That way you set up the Dark Void, because thanks to her first passive or second passive, she has a 90% chance to cast the Dark Void at the start of her action, I think was what it was. At the start of battle. Yeah, so at the start of battle, she just like procs the Dark Void, and this is where you start getting value from. Oh, so maybe you don't need her to be very fast. I don't know. I still think you should build her very fast because of, yeah, when releasing the skills. So if you want to get the stellar powers and fatal strikes going, you should have her moving quickly. Yeah, so anyways, going back to the Sigil here. So I do think you should have speed on her. That's kind of a non-negotiable. And if you really wanted to optimize this, you would probably go crit rate, crit damage, or crit rate, quantum damage. Actually, I do think speed, crit rate, and crit damage probably would be the most optimal. But if you get quantum damage, or even if you get defense penetration, I think those are also decent stats to empower for. And then for her models, so after some playtesting, I've done 4-piece quantum, 2-piece of the Raging Wave, 4-piece quantum, 2-piece of attack power, and from my experience in a PvP setting, I do think the 2-piece speed is better. It depends on what you value more. Do you value PvP more, or do you value PvE more? I think most people who summon for Tiya do want her to be optimized for PvP. So for this reason, I would highly recommend 4-piece quantum, 2-piece speed to basically overcome a potential speed tie with an opposing Tiya. And in this case in particular, you want to go speed, crit rate, crit damage for the main stats of those models, and then for the remodel effects, you want to try to, well, you definitely want 6 out of 6 speed, and then if you can, try to max out crit rate and crit damage, with the rest going into attack or base attack. Alright, and okay, so now that we've gone over her kit, let's go over some replays of her. So there was an arena reset, and I'm kind of fighting simulation data, so to give a proper showcase of this, let's go towards my defenses. So these are top players who are attacking me right now. So this is my defense and this is my attacker. So basically for this team, you have Turn, who is our speed tuner, you have Flicker, who is holding down the fort against opposing DPSs, you have Tiya here, you have Abyss Alicia holding the rear, and you have Lilira. So I would say that right now this is one of the optimal teams that you can run with Tiya, because you essentially have, you know, the ability to protect the front and back lane. Of course, Abyss Alicia can blow you out from this lane. This is actually not the most optimal team formation, but at the time, this was pretty good for my specific meta. Yeah, so yeah, let's go ahead and show the replay, and I'll comment on this a little bit more, how it works. Okay, and I'll slow this down a little bit. Okay, so I went first because we had a speed tie, and the defender goes first in a speed tie. Okay, so our turns trade places. His Tiya is... Oh wait, no. No, he's attacking me. I'm on the right side, I'm sorry. Yeah, Bogobo is a whale. He has like insane stats. Well, I'm a whale too, but he's like on another level here. Yeah, so we're trading blows. Okay, so this is my... So notice how I've hit the weakest ally with the Fatal Strike, right? Okay. And my Abyss Alicia is holding down the fort. I recommend against opposing Alicias that you, or opposing Carnissas, that you put Abyss Alicia in the rearmost. Because even if Carnissa picks up a KO, Abyss Alicia's knockout doesn't count as a trigger for her follow-up attack. Okay, this is my Abyss Alicia acting. We took out her Echo, his Echo. Oh, and we took out his Abyss Alicia too. Now, it's not showing here, but sometimes in the battle, the follow-up attacks from her Stargaze, like, you know how there's a Dark Void and anytime the enemy acts, there's a chance for you to retaliate back. That damage, there's not an animation sometimes, so Tiya is actually doing damage and it's not even showing via an animation here. So just to explain a bit further what I mean, if I scroll all the way down and go to the damage calculation, you'll see that Tiya actually does even more damage than Abyssalicia. And how is this possible? This is possible because Tiya is actually doing a ton of follow-up attacks every time the enemy is hitting you. It's just there's not an animation that is showcasing this. So yeah, and then let's go over another replay. Okay, so same thing, but now we're going against another flavor here. So this is basically a lightning, you know, with Rose Splash. So let's go ahead and showcase this. So I'm on the right hand side. Okay, I move again. I think it's not enough just to have a Tiya. You also need to have a very solid turn. Your turn needs to be very fast. Typically, whoever has the faster speed tuner has a huge advantage in the map. Okay, so we're kind of trading blows so far, just buffing and whatnot. Okay, here's our Fatal Strike. Okay, yeah, so notice how we're Fatal Striking the weakest enemy, which is currently Rose. Which is really valuable, right? Because Rose is actually in a traditionally safe zone. The only person who can threaten that position in particular is Rose. But Tiya can do it too. And Tiya actually softened up the Rose enough that we were able to pick up a KO on Rose with an AoE Abyssalicia Burst. And notice the value that we're getting from all those follow-up attacks from Tiya. It's quite impactful, and she hits pretty hard. Okay, so wow, yeah, this is kind of a blowout, right? Now, obviously, having a strong supporting cast does matter, but it doesn't matter how good your supports are if your DPSs aren't picking up KOs, right? Because you're essentially delaying the inevitable otherwise. Yeah, so yeah, very solid team here. If you picked up Abyssalicia from the previous version, I think it is worthwhile to pick up Tiya and try this team out. It's very consistent. Now, I no longer use Tiya on my normal arena team because I have an A6 Rose now, and she also has a max Sigil. But if I wasn't using Rose, Tiya would be definitely a decent alternative, a very solid alternative. Yeah. So anyways, I hope you found this video informative. Please let me know what you think, or if you have any questions, you can leave a question in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.